Hey, what's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of the Finance Bro. We have real conversations with real people about money. Today, I have one of my Neos who's doing some real special things out there on the West Coast, Hasan. So before we jump into it, Hasan, please introduce yourself to everyone. Let them know what you do, where you from, what frat you in, which they can see because they saw the hook store. You know what I'm saying? I'm real happy to have you on the show
Yes,
today, man.
sir.
Let's get
Yes,
to it.
sir, man. Thank you for having me, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, the good bros, worldwide out here on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Hasan Alchemist, 2 Live $5, Spring 18, Army Mute, Naval Academy Q's the standard, baby. You better know it. And so love, you know what I'm saying, the opportunity to come on the show, bro. And I'm ready to chop it up with you, man. Let's talk finances, let's talk growth, and let's get into it.
I love it. I love it. So, with this show being called The Finance, bro, all the conversations are tied to money. So, my first question for you really is, what was the biggest surprise to you as an adult when it came to personal finance?
Ah, man. So I think the biggest surprise to me was like, first off, nobody was teaching me. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like I went through elementary, middle, high school, went to the Naval Academy, graduated from there. So I'm thinking I'm prepared. I'm thinking I'm ready. You know what I mean?
yep.
Got a great education. You know what I mean? I was a biochem pre-med major at the academy. So
She.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, oh wait, I was TA then. As soon as I graduated academy and I was ready to get an apartment. And they're like, okay, like, let me see your credit. What's your credit? I'm like, credit? Like, I don't have any. They're like,
Mm,
well, you need to have credit for us to be able to approve you for this place. So my whole time growing up, man, like just being, in the black community is like everybody ran from credit. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Whenever there was a topic about credit, either there wasn't any conversation or somebody was like, oh, my credit's messed up or stay away from that or don't mess your credit up. But nobody ever like went into detail about what you need to do to get your credit, to the place that you want to be and to look good on applications and forms. So long story short, the biggest surprise for me was that like I had no introduction to finances, no type of classes or any reach in the financial literacy world. So man, and there's nobody saying, hey, do you need help with your finances? Like there's
Mm,
no, nobody's really doing that. So it's
mm-hmm.
like kind of like you got to figure it out on your own. So if you don't seek it, you won't find it. So that was a big surprise to me.
So you bring up a good point. So why do you think within especially the Black community, that everyone kind of just teaches you to shy away from credit instead of like giving you the answers? You think it's because they don't know themselves?
Yeah, man, I think it's a lot of things. I think number one, I think everything in the black community has kind of been tribal knowledge. You know what I mean? So what I mean by
Mm,
that is just things are just kind of passed down through sayings, through what your grandmother said, what your mom told you, what you heard on the street from your friends or anything like that. Like no one has ever like really kind of sat us down and said, hey, this is what you should do. You know what I mean? Like even sitting down at dinner, for us to even get around the dinner table all at one time, you know what I mean, and sit down and have a discussion and talk. We don't really talk about anything really in general, anything that's a
mm-hmm.
tough topic. And then especially about finances, I think they just didn't know. And then two, they kind of maybe felt like they were in a situation where, they couldn't, I guess, really speak, intelligently about it to, prepare us, or it wasn't even the forefront of their minds. You know what I mean? They're
Mm.
working, trying to make ends meet. You know what I mean? So the last thing they have time to do is come and teach you about credit. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the biggest issues.
Now that's huge. I actually, you don't good because the the atmosphere in which that occurs, right, is like you already mentioned, there's
Yeah.
so many different things going on. And just from my line of work, I realized that for most people who are dealing with, are the bills paid on time, did the kids eat, like, a what how much is the rent
Right.
going up, like there's so many other
Right.
things. The last thing they really are thinking about is, yo, how do we teach them about credit? How do we teach them how to budget, manage their money properly? I mean, one of the issues I think is most people aren't managing their money properly. So it's like I can't teach
Right.
them to do something I can't. But I think that brings up another good point is like, in order to teach it, you got to do it. And
Right.
I think
Right.
it should be emphasized. That's why I like to emphasize the importance of personal finance, because once you know what you're doing, it's kind of just going to follow down the line. A person with good finances isn't typically going to let their family, friends, or children have
Right.
bad finances.
Right.
They're going to teach those things up front, but I think you got to take care of the things at home before you get to that, and it makes it really difficult. But like you said, also, no one's teaching it, right? Like, we went to the Naval Academy. I never sat through a finance
Right.
class. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Never.
I I knew the bare minimum about credit, didn't know what half the stuff was. I just knew that, hey, if I put the money on it, I was going to pay it. So I never had missed payments, and that
Right.
was pretty much it. I didn't understand credit utilization, all of those things, and I really didn't start understanding credit to the fullest until I started, my company started doing credit repair, and that actually helped me set up my stuff to raise my scores. But it's like, in order to get the answers, you got to do the work, right? It's like, so what do
You
you
have
think?
to.
What do you think part of the issue is? I mean, for most people, is it because they just waiting for someone to come find them and say, hey, you need to know this? Or do you think it's just because they're just not seeking it out because they don't understand the importance of it?
I think people don't understand the importance of it, bro. So I think part of what even led me into, try to grow my literacy in finances, bro, just kind of started with me just wanting to make moves. So I'm
Mm,
like, okay, how do I, first off, get my time back? How do I
mm.
get in control of my time, right? Like, it's less so about money. I was having this conversation the other day, and I'm sorry if I go off on a tangent. I'm gonna bring it back.
Nah, do you think?
So, I was having a conversation about money the other day, right? How you make your money really determines the worth or the value of the money. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So if you're a millionaire, right, but you have to work 7 days a week and pull 14-hour shifts and never get to see your kids, then whatever you're doing, I don't want to be a millionaire. But if I'm bringing in 150,000, $200,000 a year, but it's passive, you know what I mean? And I get to see my kids, I get to, go to their games, I get to fly and go see
mm.
my family. You know what I mean? I could go take vacations. I can enjoy life. You know what I mean? I don't have to clock in, clock out. Somebody tell me when I can take leave or go home or do whatever the case may be, right? I would take that $200,000 passively any day. You know what I mean? Instead of working 7 days a week, pulling 14-hour shifts and being a millionaire. So that process kind of started me getting back to what you're saying about credit. It was like, okay, how do I make moves? How do I get in control of my time? And so the next thing it was like, okay, well, I want to get the property, I want to get into real estate. You know what I mean? So credit became one of the big things in that world, in that arena. So I'm like,
Mm.
ah, man, okay. So now I need to understand credit before I can even make this move. You know what I mean? So to play the game, you gotta understand the rules. You gotta understand the game. You know what I'm saying? Playing football or
Mhm.
basketball, whatever. You can't just say, oh, I'm gonna play, and you don't know, oh, that's a travel, or you went out of bounds, or that's an illegal hit. You can't do that. You know what I mean? Or you run into the wrong end zone. How you
Yeah.
gonna score if you run into the wrong end zone? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, I think really credit was just one of those rules of the game and becoming, rich or wealthy or whatever your goals may be. Credit is a huge part of that. So that's how I kind of got tuned into it. So to answer your question, I think people first have to realize what do they want to do, what type of moves do they want to make,
Mm.
what are their goals in life, and then they'll start, realizing that okay, to get to Z, I need to do A, B, C, and D. You know what I mean? To even get to Z first. You know what I mean? Credit is a huge part of that. So that's what led me to it.
That's so I completely agree with what you said. And I like the fact that you said the first thing you did was kind of sit down and evaluate what you wanted to do with your life. Right. And I think
Yeah.
that's extremely important because there's a lot of people who are running around in several different directions because they don't know what direction they want to go, but they haven't sat down, took some time to themselves and really evaluated the question, what do you want to
Right.
do? Right. And
Right.
because they don't know what they want to do, it's hard to hone in on these things. Like, because there's specific requirements for every different direction you want to take, right? But there are some things that are consistent, like, yeah, you should have a good credit score,
Yeah.
and since you brought up credit, a lot of the issues I see is a lot of people are like, hey, how do I raise my credit score? I need my credit score to go up. And one of the biggest things that I see hitting people, they're all tied to missed payments, right? And it's like,
Right.
the best way, 35% of your credit score is payment history. So if you want the
Right.
best credit score, you need to pay your bills on time. Um, but I think that goal setting is huge. That's something I talk about all the time. Like, and anybody listen, that was a huge point just now. If you
Yeah.
if you don't know where you want to go in life and the things that you value and the things that matter to you, it's going to be very difficult to build a plan to get to where you need to be. and you're gonna spend a lot of time feeling lost, not knowing if you're making the right decisions because you haven't given yourself a direction to go yet.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure, man. I think that's a huge thing. And then as you're saying that, bro, the second thing I realized is that like it's not sexy either. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not to talk about credit and talk about finances, it's not cool. You know what I'm saying? It's not lit, so to speak, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but what people don't realize is that you can get to the point where it's lit and it's
Mm-hmm.
sexy, you know what I mean? But it's gonna be a little growing pains at first. I think part of the reason, especially in the black community, and I think just kids in general, right? They like the
Mm-hmm.
things that are flashy, glamorous. You know what I mean? Like they like the pro athlete, like OBJ that's dancing in the end zone. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But like they're not going with OBJ to the practices and you know what I mean? He didn't tore his ACL twice and he's working out and they don't see the grind, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
like they definitely want to see what's sexy and glamorous and like you know, what's flashy and what looks good and what's good for like an Instagram post. So part of that, and I see you doing it as well, is trying to make, you know, I guess finances, wealth, financial literacy be like edutainment and also kind of be like cool because like we're not lame. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like in a way, it was kind of like growing up. Oh, they don't you don't hoop or you don't play football or you do real estate. Oh, that's lame. Or like you do this and you're not on TV. I mean, you're not making no money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I think part of my message is also to make it like edutainment and then to see that like it's fun and it can be like you know almost like a game or sport. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Once you figure out how to do it the proper way.
Yeah. Being responsible does not mean you can't be cool.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
And you have a lot more chances to be cool when you're financially responsible than someone, because I gave a speech at Zoe Leadership Academy for their graduation. And one of the things I spoke about is, with the age of social media being around, it's difficult. Like people see these people with these nice vehicles, they got all
Yeah.
this jewelry on, they're wearing designer clothes, and they're like, oh, these people are doing well. And I tell people like, yo, 9 times out of 10, a lot of these people you see walk around in frequenting the same areas that you are, they have that
Right.
stuff, but their financial situation is abysmal.
Right.
They might be riding that big body Benz, but they got a 22% interest rate to go with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the part they
Right.
don't tell you. You just see the glamour, but no one's sharing the back end of it. And so having these conversations is important because I want people, I want to be around people who are financially stable, that are financially free, don't have to worry
Period.
about whether this or that. You know what I'm saying? That
Period.
it's become more aggressive. Like every day I wake up, because I'm realizing like the more people, we got the Juwans, you got trust, you got
Right.
everybody around
Right.
who understands the importance of it and have done the work. But it's like now as a unit, we're starting to gain more opportunity because more of us are free. And that's the thing that
Right.
people understand is like, one, we don't have to do everything by ourselves, right? Like if I
That's
have
huge.
if I
That's
have 10
huge.
people and we all have 10 grand, we can make some plays, right? But if I'm
Right.
the only one with 10 grand or I'm the only one with 100 grand, not only do I have to put all the money down, but now I own all the risk. I'd rather split the risk with people that I know are responsible
Right.
financially so that we could do more. But no one's talking about these things. Everybody, oh, the rappers are doing. If you look into the sports, the entertainment industry, all these places where people are seeing these flashy people and wanting to live that lifestyle, a
Right.
lot of those people end up in worse positions than when they went in, because then they
Right.
don't
For
have that,
sure.
they don't have those practices and they don't have people around holding them accountable, telling them, yo, you shouldn't spend that money. Like we need to do this instead, or hey, let's relax. Let's find something else to where we all can have the same result, but spend less, like all of these things that
Right.
get worked in, but that comes around your circle too.
That's true. Yeah, man. You said a huge point. Your circle is huge. You know what I mean? You know, some people say your network is your net worth. You know what I mean? So you got to surround yourself with people that are, chasing the same things you're doing and their mindset is aligned with you. You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
you hang around in the barber shop too long, you'll get a haircut. You know what I'm saying? So,
I
like,
like that.
you know what I'm saying? If you hang around in the barber shop long enough, you'll get a haircut. You know what I mean? So, definitely, man, it's huge. And we don't have to do things by ourselves. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to feel like, oh, I got it out the mud, or oh, like I did it by
Mm-hmm.
myself, and didn't nobody help me. I did it. I was me against the world. When
Yep.
it's like, in reality, whoever said that they're lying because somebody
Mm-hmm.
somewhere had to give you a break. Somebody looked out for
Mm-hmm.
you. Somebody put you on. Somebody gave you game. Somebody did something for you. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Nobody has done everything literally by themselves. That's false. That's a false narrative.
I would agree. I think it's almost impossible to do it, because someone's gonna have to help you with something. Like, unless you own all the
something.
resources and the things to make stuff happen, there has to be another entity involved to help. And I think that's a message that needs to get pushed more, to the younger crowd and to the older crowd as well, our
For
age
sure.
and older, because there's so many. I remember, I can think back to when I was younger, and I used to have conversations with people, and they'd be like, 'cause I believe in group economics, right? Like, we're more powerful as a unit than one of us
For sure.
individual, right? And
Definitely.
a lot of people didn't understand that concept because of that get it out the mud mentality. It's like, almost like
Right.
I feel like a lot of that it revolves around ego, right? Because when you have that ego and that pride, you want to be able to, like, you have this thing that you can look back on and tell everybody, oh yeah, this is mine, I did it. But I spoke about it in my book, and I talk about, like, the person that asked for help and got financially free in a year, and a person that did it
Right.
themselves in 10 years, there's no difference between them. Honestly, the person that asked for help is better, because while it took you 10 years, they had 9 years to enjoy that financial freedom and do what they need to do with it.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. Yeah, man. We're huge, huge fan of group economics. I'm pushing the same narrative as you on group economics, man. We're more powerful together. It's strength in numbers. You know what I'm saying? Look at Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean? Like, it's strength in numbers. You know what I'm saying? You have to have depth. You know what I mean? So I think Jay-Z said one time something to the effect of, your crew, everybody has to be everybody's crutches. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So, like, you can't be around one person and the single person is doing everything. They have all the money, all the bread, all the resources, everything. Like, everybody has to be providing something to bring everything to the table. And that way, if something goes wrong or haywire left or whatever, they can be their crutches and, you know what I mean, and carry along the rod. But bro, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it needs to be pushed out. The narrative needs to be pushed out. And I think, I think we're at a time now though, like, people are gonna be receptive. You know what I mean? We just have to, push it out and be consistent, and removing the ego has been a thing for me and the people that I talk to a lot and that are close to me. Cause bro, like, anything that you're chasing, any goal, any dream, passion, whatever it is, you have to remove your ego. Like, you're
mm-hmm,
not gonna get far. You know what I mean? Like, somebody tells you no one time, you think it's you personally. It's not Hasan. It's not me. You know
mm-hmm,
what I mean? Like, it was just, oh, they were in a different headspace or they had something else going on. Like, it has to be consistent. You have to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? So you gotta remove your ego out of it.
And that's that's big. So we talked about circle a little bit. So in your financial journey, have you found that the more responsible you've come with your finances, the more you've had to disassociate yourself from certain people or certain groups?
For sure, man. For sure. I mean, bro, it's almost like it's inevitable. You know what I mean? Like, as
Mm-hmm.
you're growing and as you're like, you don't even want to do the same things. Like slick or like subtle things that people say. It's like it's a highlight to you now. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm no longer like overlooking it. I'm no longer looking past
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, any slight thing that you say or like any or even just going out on the weekend. Like, I'm not just going out on the weekend and just like partying and living it up and just spending bread now. You know what I
Buying
mean?
bottles at
Like,
the club.
you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that because and really, if we want to get into it, bottles in the club really come down to ego. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, right. So back to that ego thing. It's like, oh, they got bottles. Okay, I'm gonna buy another one. Or they just bought two. Okay, I'm about to buy three. You know what I mean? And then you leave, your joint is in the negative. You know what I mean? So like, bro, like, ego, it comes back into this again. And so my circle now, man, is like, what you seek, you'll find. You know what I mean? So like, as I'm growing, as I'm trying to develop and just become, as the best person I can be, like, I just can't even, I can't even be around it. Like, I don't even know how to
Yeah.
explain it. Like, it's just like, it becomes irritating. We don't have anything to talk about anymore. Same jokes aren't as funny anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't want to do the same things. You know what I mean? Like, I may want to go, what I'm saying, to a vineyard, you know what I mean? And like, look at
Mm-hmm.
maybe starting a wine or, you know what I mean? Or different stuff like this. And I'm talking about this. And then you talking about, oh, we just went downtown and did blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, like, there's nothing, like, it's different, bro. It's just different.
That's and it's crazy because the more you have these conversations, you realize that, the people who have started working on growth and like trying to, make these decisions to be better people and do the things that are going to benefit them for the long run in this long journey of life we have, we run into the same things, right? And
Right.
it's crazy because that's a big part of it is you do start to notice like the things that you overlook because you was like, oh, these just my friends, like, well, and you just never
Right.
paid attention to it because it's one of those, oh, that's the kind of like thing we hate in the military, right? Like, oh, that's the way it's always been, but why?
Right.
Right? Do you stop and you're like, but why? Right?
But
And
why?
you realize that now, instead of being the friend that you thought these people were, the person that in your times where you're down, they make you feel better and they provide that sense of belonging for you. All of a sudden, very quickly, when you start to work on your mental growth and all these other things, the filter's removed.
Right.
And once the filter's removed, it gets very difficult to ignore the slightest of things. It's like, oh, I
Hmm.
did this great thing, and it's like, or hey, perfect example. You like, hey man, uh I just bought a course to learn how to trade stocks. Like I'm gonna do this, and it's like, well, I tried trading before, it don't work.
Right. Right.
Well,
Right.
why didn't it work?
Right.
Oh, I mean, I tried, it didn't work. So now, opposed to being around a group of people who are all in the same mindset, was like, cool, you got the course, all right, cool, we'll bang it out, we'll figure it out together. Matter of fact, we
You
all gonna
saying?
figure out what's going on, as this person's trying to sow
Right.
doubt, and it becomes very draining to maintain those relationships. But the difficult part with that is, I don't think I've ever been successful with helping, like, well, I ain't gonna say ever, like it's minimal, but it's very difficult to be successful with helping those people see why they have the issue and what those issues are, especially when you try to remove yourself away. Like, hey, look, here's why I'm stepping away. And it's almost like oh, you acting different.
Right.
I mean, yeah, because it's for the better, right? Like, I'm not just acting Brenda. I still, you still blah blah. And like the crazy part is, though, here's what baffles me. Never once during any of those conversations was it stated that you can't take this journey with me.
Right. I'm actually telling you so we can go together. You know what I mean? Like I'm having this conversation to better the whole crew, everybody. You know what I mean? Like two quotes, right? So Jay-Z said one. He said, "People look at you strange like you change, like you work that hard to stay the same." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we're doing this for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to be 70, bro, and just now like, okay, let me retire, let me slow down, let me enjoy what I worked for. Like, no, like you can't, like that's not the plan no more. You know what I mean? And the second one is Kevin Gates said,
My
he
man's.
said, just cause yeah, Kevin Gates, he was like big speaker. He said, just cause you smoke cigarettes don't mean I should get cancer. You know what I mean? So just because you smoking cigarettes, I don't have to be around you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not gonna get cancer from secondhand smoke or you passing it to me or whatever the case of me putting me in an environment. Like don't put that on me. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you smoking cigarettes. Like, nah, so bro, like and another thing that I'm doing now, bro, and I'm trying to be self-aware. And with that is like the people that I hang around or I even talk to or I pick up the phone for or text or call is like, how do I feel after? You know what I mean? Like, how am
Mm.
I feeling before I talk to them?
Mm.
And now how am I feeling after I talk to them? Do I feel drained? You know what I mean? Did they pour into me? How is my spirit, bro? How's my vibe? How's my aura? Like where am I, what frequency am I on? Like after I hang out with them or talk to them or engage in whatever they wanted me to engage in, even if it's them just calling and complaining. You know what I mean? Like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, you know, athletes, pro athletes, people in our situation who have, gone the opposite route or been to the academy and for lack of better words, are just in a better position than some of the people that they grew up with. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people kind of use us as kind of like a manure screen. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like they
Mm.
just dump all of their stuff on me or dump all stuff on you or whatever. And we're just supposed to sit there and listen and make them feel better. We're kind of that make
Mm-hmm.
them feel better friend. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But you
Yep.
have to be weary of that and don't let people drain your energy.
But that's huge. That's something that was huge for me within the past couple of years of working through and learning. Like, and I'm glad to see you learned it earlier than I did, which is huge. But that, I'm anyone listening right now, that's a huge point. And I hope you really ponder that, right? It's, you get on the phone and evaluate, how do I feel before? How do I feel after? I think that's a great thing to do, because one of the things I realized that there were people that every time we got on the phone call, I noticed that I was drained afterwards. And it's like, wow, when I
Right.
think back to every phone call we had, it's always something negative, right? It's not, hey, this or that. And it's just like, oh, blah, 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 this and that. You want to talk about people, you want to talk. And it's like,
Right.
but then when you offer a solution, like, hey, have you ever tried this? No, I'm not trying to hear that.
Right. Right. People don't want to hear solutions, bro. Like people don't want, and that's another thing I learned from like the military, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
before you go talk to your superior officer or your captain or whoever it is, your commanding officer, like they say, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So like, okay, that's a problem. What's the solution? So if every time I talk to you, every time I'm doing something, every time we're in the same environment together, all you're doing is bringing me problems, no solutions. I offer you a solution and you turn it down. You don't even want to hear it. I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here. At this point, you just want to rant. You don't even care. You don't even want to get in a better position. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Because you start to realize a lot of these problems that your friends are having, well, we can have this fixed in a couple days. It's like, but are you start to realize, and this is something I've pondered, a question I ask is, dealing with people is like, is this person in love with having problems? You know what I'm saying? Because
That's
because
heavy.
I've learned through life is that I feel like there's some people who only know how to operate when they have problems, and they feel like when
Mm,
their problems are gone, they're not going to have anything to speak to anyone about, if that makes sense.
mm, that's
And
heavy, bro.
the second part of that is, in order for a person to really relinquish their problems and find solutions for them, that means they have to take some self accountability.
They don't want to do that, and they don't want to do that.
And that's a hard one. I mean, for a lot of people, I mean, it was hard for me for years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
but that self accountability piece is huge, because
Bro,
before
huge.
you can look out and point fingers here and there, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like,
Right.
if you sit here and you've had the same issue with 10 people, is it the 10 people or is it
Or is
you?
it you?
You know,
Right. Right.
and
Not as real.
that's huge. So like, I think there are people who fall in love with being the victim.
Yeah. It's a victim's mentality, man. Like people, I don't know, man. I, and that's another can of worms to unpack.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, it
Like
is.
people having like a victim mentality and always having the victim, you know what I'm saying, perspective on life and woe is me and why did this happen to me? You know what I mean? And maybe we'll have to come back for a part two, you know what I'm saying, to unpack that.
Hey, we could do that.
You know what I mean? But until you become self-aware, right? Like
Mm,
David Goggins is, one of the people that I love to listen to, especially before I like go work out, right?
mm-hmm.
And he's in your face, you know what I mean? And he may be a little, use a lot of profanity, but for me, it's good because I'm like,
Yeah,
I feel him, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
sometimes, like if you're overweight, like you're overweight, get in the gym. You know what I'm saying? Like if you are broke and you have money, but you're just spending all the time, you need to stop spending money and figure out what's the problem, what's the issue. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, man. Sometimes it can be simple if people just take a look in the mirror and are honest with themselves and then go from there. You know what I mean? I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to just bash social media because I feel like social media can be used for good, but everybody just shows their highlight film. You know what I
yep,
mean? Like everybody's showing their highlight tape. You know what I'm saying? So like when you get on there, it's like nobody's being honest. Nobody's showing their mistakes. You know what I mean? Nobody is saying like, "Hey, I did this, blah blah. I failed, but I'm gonna get back up and try again." Or you know what I mean? Everything is, "Oh, look at me balling. I'm on the beach, blah
mm-hmm.
blah blah blah, and I'm doing this, that, and other." But in reality, it's like that's not your car, right? Like,
Oh, oh, oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not your car. You know what I mean? And you went there, but you borrowed the money to get there on a credit card. Like, now your credit's messed up. Get back to the finances. You know what I mean? and now you're saying now you're going home and you're like, I don't want to go too deep. You know what I mean? I don't want to feel like I'm attacking anybody that's listening. But you just have to be self-aware, you know what I mean? And take the ego out of it. So yeah, I agree with you, man. Like you have to just be honest with yourself and have self-accountability. And that's with anything. That's with credit, finances, that's
Mhm.
with life, relationships.
Relationships. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, that's everything, dog. Like, and communication, you know what I mean? Having that communication with yourself.
So that's a good one. So communication, that's something we've been focusing on out here a lot, is like how to effectively communicate with others, right? And now, I've realized how important it is even to be able to ask the right questions, right? Because
Right,
you can ask a question a multitude of different ways and get different answers. But if you learn how to ask the right question to what you're seeking, it'll help you
right.
a lot more. And it's like being able to communicate and talk to people, even having these type of conversations, right? Like as I've been like meeting people, it's like, bro, I'm actually shocked at how many people have like groups of friends and they've never had a conversation beside like, oh, what happened today? Like
Yeah,
they don't know anything about what their goals are, what's upsetting
yeah,
them, and all these things. And it's like, wow. But then, people look down on people like when we do, they're like, oh, why are you asking these type of questions? Why y'all talking about that? Until they get around it
right,
and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. This
yeah,
is this is what y'all do? Like,
right,
how do I get a part of this? And
right,
it's like, this we've been trying to tell you, but until a person, unfortunately, I met a lot of people who, enjoy being around it now, but they had to hit rock bottom first before they realized the value of the other side. Right. And it's
right.
like, for me, it's like, how do I help, even for us, like, cause you're doing a lot of great things over there too. It's like, how do we help prevent people from having to hit rock bottom before they decide that they need to do something different?
Ah, man, I think it's number one, people like relatability. So they'll listen if you maybe share yourself, some of your own
Mm-hmm.
stories, appear vulnerable first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing that I'm working on too, is like just being okay. Like there's strength in being vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be the rah rah tough guy all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
being vulnerable is number one. And then number two, I guess not kind of like trying to pressure them and say and wag a finger like, hey, you're doing this
Mm-hmm.
wrong. You should be doing this. Um, and just kind of like, okay, so I'll say it. So like, I believe in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I meet somebody, that's not the first thing I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because being real, that can be a turnoff.
Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? So like I'm not gonna say, "Hey, here's the Bible. Read the Bible. Here's the scripture." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the first thing I'm gonna do is, number one, like I'm gonna be vulnerable. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be open. I'll be open. Like if you're in need or whatever, I'm gonna get you some food. You know what I mean? Or like
Mm-hmm.
or get you some money, help you fill up your gas, right? And then just be positive. You know what I mean? Kind of check in. You know what I mean? Kind of just be periodic. Don't try to deliver everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, they'll see your situation and say, "Oh, dang, Hassan kind of cool. He kind of cool." And then I can slip in like, "Yo, you know what I mean? Like, you believe in Jesus, blah blah blah." Or like, what's your faith like? Like they're like, huh? You know what I mean? So then they're
Mm-hmm.
more receptive. But like if the first thing I'm coming at you, I'm like, yo, you messed up, dog. Like, I don't know what you got going on. Like, you should be doing that. So to answer your question, I think number one is being vulnerable. And then number two, just kind of like throwing nuggets out, just being
Mm-hmm.
consistent, just throwing nuggets out. And then you can't save everybody, bro. Like,
That's true.
you know what I mean? So people change when they want to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's a quote from a book we were reading. It's like the 7 Hermetic Principles from Hermes. And one of the things it talks about is basically like, until the ears of the person that's supposed to listen are open, like the lips of the teacher will be sealed, so
Mm,
it's like, it's a big emphasis on that
yeah.
right there. Like you can't help everybody until they're ready. And it's like, when that person is ready, it'll present itself in some form. But you hit on a couple other good things in that right there. One being, being non-judgmental. And me, when I work with clients, the first thing I do, because everyone gets on them like, oh, I feel so bad. I don't want you to judge me. I tell them right up front, hey, look, I always emphasize, this is a non-judgmental zone, because I've seen so many people on the opposite end where like they're supposed to be helping, but you immediately judge the person for their situation that you claimed you wanted to help. And that
Right.
just pushes
Right.
them away, right? And it's like, but for me, like
Right.
you said, Jesus Christ, I don't believe, I'm nowhere near perfect. Therefore, I will never judge another human being. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
what you doing is what you're doing. And if you're seeking, me for guidance, then cool. I humbly accept that, and we're gonna help get where you are. But even with my clients,
Right.
I say, hey, look, my job isn't to focus on your past, right? Whatever got you here, that's what got you here. My goal is to figure out where you are right now, and then we
Right.
find a direction for you to move forward.
For
But
sure.
then along with not being judgmental, it's it's hard for people to come and ask for help in general, right? And I like the way you put it, is like leaving the breadcrumbs, because
Right.
I think that a lot of people go into helping someone with the wrong intentions, and
Right.
they care more about pushing their views than they do with actually helping the person, which kind of jumps into what you
Mm.
said, right? So I don't care about what I know what my views are. I know that,
Right.
hey, you want to do this. First thing I need to do before I can do anything is listen to you, right? Like my first thing shouldn't be coming out spewing to you everything I know about it, right? I have to figure out where you are
Right.
and let you speak, right? Because once I'm listening to you speak, now we can start making some headway, because the toughest thing is to get someone to start sharing. But if I'm coming in,
Right.
I tell you I want to help you, and I spent the last 45 minutes telling you about my thoughts and what I think,
Right.
bro, you ain't cool. Hey, you know what? I appreciate it. Glad I learned about you, but I'm out. Like, and
Right.
I think that's a thing from people who claim that they want to help people get wrong, is instead of going in and trying to really understand the person and let them share, and like really, and that's so perfect. Another thing, right? Be active listening, right?
Bingo.
Active listening is a huge thing, right? And it's become,
Huge.
actually doing the podcast has helped me with it a lot. And one of the things that me and Trust this year earlier said was, when the year started, it was like, yo, I'm gonna focus on being more present, right? Because people think just because they're around that they're present, right? But there's a
Mm.
very big difference between being around and being present. And
Present.
even with like friends, like now, because you're present, you're able to pick up on things that you normally wouldn't have picked up on. I'm like, hey, even if it's just a, hey bro, or hey sis, you feeling okay today? Like,
Right.
I noticed that, normally when you come in, you always put your bag right there, but for some reason you dropped it right there. That's unnormal. Well, actually,
Right.
and it's like, oh, or like, hey, I noticed that you brought up your mom a couple times. Like, is she okay? Well, actually, but you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? But because you're present and
Mm.
you're actively listening, now you can build better
Mm.
conversations with people to be able to do these things. But everyone is kind of just like, oh yeah. And like, meanwhile, this person's like in their own way asking you for help, but you're
Right.
worried about everything else instead of being there, and that's one of my biggest issues with these, right?
Man.
One of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm like chilling with people and we're spending time, and like we're supposed to be like talking or doing whatever,
You're
and they
right.
sit here like this. I'm like, yo, put the like one of the people will notice, like when they come around me and you came to like hang, or we came to hang, bro, you're not gonna
Right.
see me on my phone unless like I get a
Fact.
call that's important, or otherwise I'll be like, yeah, I'll call you back. But I'm not, nah, this phone is going. Like, it's me and you.
Right.
We're gonna talk, we're gonna do whatever we need to do, but we're gonna spend this time.
Right. Right. Yeah, nah, bro. I feel like, all right. So number one, being present, active listening. That's huge, bro. Like, and that's another thing where I feel like we're helping people and people being receptive to whatever game that you're trying to put them on. If you active listen, and you're present,
Mm-hmm.
people are more willing to listen to whatever you have to say. You're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
dang, he's actually listening to me, and you comment on what they're saying and ask questions about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not
Yep.
like, oh, it's just. And that's another thing, taking the ego out of it. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, it's really not about me. It's not about my investment group. It's not about my real estate. It's not about. We're really trying to help you. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the finances, your company is like, you're trying to help people. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? So I can't help people if I'm not listening and I'm not present. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's a huge thing, bro. Is being present and being in the moment and actually being able to engage with people and actually feel people, because people can feel the energy. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not
Yeah.
present and you're looking around and you know what I'm saying, and you're not paying attention, you're on your phone or whatever the case may be, like, you can't actively help somebody if you're doing that.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And another point you brought up was the phones, right? Like
Hmm.
hanging around people and man, like for me, like I wrote down a schedule. Like I just built a schedule, right? I call it
Hmm.
like a billionaire schedule. And literally like, bro, from like 4 a.m. to about like 7 p.m., bro, like I have everything mapped out. You know what I mean? Even to like, yo, call your moms. Or like, hey, this time is time for you just to rest and chill. You know what I mean? Or this time is where you need to focus on this type of part of the real estate. You know what I mean? This is the workout time. This is the time you need to read. You know what I mean? So like being present and being active, bro, like you can get more out of an hour of you being present and active than you could 4 hours. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like a lot of people try to like multitask. So like I'm on a podcast with you, I'm sending emails, you know what I'm saying? I'm pointing in the background telling you to do this, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
And like I'm trying to like vacuum at the same. And it's like we wouldn't be able to engage and have a great conversation if I'm doing all that. But if
Right.
we have like 45 minutes and I'm locked in, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm present, I'm engaged on not just the podcast or like a task, you know, sending, you know, talking with people, doing whatever you're working on. I feel like people can get more out of just being present than trying to like multitask. And they're like, oh, I've been working for 6 hours. Okay, cool. I was working for an hour and I just did what you did in 6 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like being efficient and having time freedom and time currency.
Efficiency, time currency, and that I it's came up on a lot of episodes, right? But that's huge. So I really like. So one of the things that I've been talking about, like people out here, is same thing you just described that you do. Yo, every day, every night before I go to bed, I build my schedule for the next day, and from the time that I get up to work out, whatever my workout is, I time breakfast, what books I'm reading, like you said, same thing because
Everything. Yeah.
now every task is assigned to a time, which means it's going to get done. And a lot of times I end up finishing hours before because now I have that stuff, it's on the calendar and I'm just boom. So now instead of
Knocking
being
it
done with
off.
work at 7 o'clock at night, I'm done at 2:30, maybe 3. And
Right.
now what do I do with that free time? Oh, cool. Well, now what do I need to do to progress forward? Like, cool, I'm going to do this and this, or
Mm,
hey, you know, oh, my young boys said they got a
right.
basketball game on base today. Well, because I'm finished early and I can go check them out because I remember when I was young and doing this type of stuff, I wanted the big
Right.
homies to come check me out. Right. And so
Right.
it's like, wow, like all that stuff. But a lot of people, you realize that's huge because they say, oh, I don't have time for this or that. Or I mean, it's like, if we sit down and
Really?
I talk to people like, hey, I want you to sit down, for a couple of days. I want you to document how you spend every hour of your day, every minute, right? Like, and sit there and like, if you're doing something where you get lost and you spend 30 minutes on your phone, document it. You're like, oh, from
Right.
4 to 4:30, I was on my phone. All right, cool. When people break that down, they'll realize that out of 24 hours, they're only productive maybe an hour out of the whole day, but they worked 18 hours though.
Facts. Facts.
But they worked 18 hours. And it's like, yo,
Facts.
if you could be more diligent about planning your days and figuring out what you need,
Right.
it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're an entrepreneur or even in the Marine Corps, I did that. Like, okay, cool. I know this was coming up. All right, what do we got tomorrow? I got these meetings. Cool. So I got to, all right, these fit reps go here. I'm going to time this for this. All right, I need to sit down and talk to these Marines. All right, cool. I'm going to do that from this time. And everything's there. Ain't no guesswork. I work up the next day. Cool. That's my first thing. All right, here's my first couple of things. And I get to it. Like, there's no question because I think a
Bro.
lot of people, because they don't take time to figure out what they need to do, what happens is they waste more time figuring out what to do.
That's a big one. That's a big one. That's a big one. Like uh, bro, you could literally spend all day. I could spend all day figuring out like, man, what, you know what I mean? Like, what do I need to do? And like,
Mm-hmm.
really, if you just lock in and like plan out, okay, this is what I need to do. Boom, 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 boom. Plan it out. Like you said, bro, you'll start realizing like, wow, like I really kind of just finished my week by like Wednesday or Thursday. You know what I mean? Now I'm okay. Oh snap! Now I'm able to start doing a little extra here and there, spending time, freedom here and there. Call my moms, talk to my siblings. You know what I'm saying? Have greater connections with the people you love. Blah blah blah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so you're like, man, like I really had more time than I thought, and so now, you do that over time. I haven't got to the point where I'm about to say yet, but this is where I'm trying to go is now I put my goals for a year. I want to be at this point. You do that over and over. At 6 months, you can be like, dang, I didn't hit my goals for the year
Mm-hmm.
in 6 months. So then, boom, now you go another 6 months. Now you didn't in 2 years what you thought you were gonna be. You've done in a year. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so it starts with these, planning out. these tasks, whatever you have to do, and you'll realize that you have more space and more gaps.
Yeah, it's focus. So, kind of to turn, because I see the shirt you have on.
Yeah.
So what was your financial journey like to getting to where you are now with your businesses and the groups that you're creating? Like how important was getting your finances in order to setting all of this stuff up for you?
Man, it was huge, bro. I'll put it like this. I'll give you a snapshot, man. Like, I went from like being a college student, literally laughing at my roommates. My roommates were white, like, so. And I grew up in a Black community, and where credit was unheard of. People don't really talk about it. And what my parents told me was, don't mess your credit up, right? So in my head, I'm like, okay, credit is bad. Like, I've already generalized credit is bad. Number one.
As
Number
everyone.
two, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna mess my credit up. How do I not mess it up? I'm just not gonna get one. I'm not gonna get a credit card. I'm not gonna have credit. I'm just swipe my debit card. And I'm laughing at you because you have a credit card and credit is bad. You're gonna mess your credit up. Not realizing they've been building their credit up not even since they're 18, before they're 18.
Yep.
So their parents putting, putting them
They was
on.
an authorized user before, when they was, 8 years old, they was an authorized user.
Come on. So now, instead of we put our kids on the telephone bill or the cable bill, and we don't pay it. So now they can't track it. So now our credit messed up from the jump. You know what I mean? And theirs is polished. They come out of the gate 750. So that's going from that point, right? And switching my mindset to like, wow, credit is actually good. Like, credit is actually the move. It's the play. You mean to buy $1 million crib, I don't need $1 million? Oh, snap. Like, it's, this how, wow, okay, cool. So now, you know what I'm saying? I'm at the point where I'm at now is where, like, okay, I'm trying to make moves, and I don't have the capital to necessarily make all the moves I'm making. You know what I mean? But once you learn how to utilize credit, and once you understand finances, you realize you don't need a bunch of money to get things started and get things running if you leverage your credit. You know what I mean? So really just having, bro, a whole 360 shift from, or 180 shift from credit is bad to credit is good. I want to make these moves, leverage my credit, and then here we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, talking about like the leveraging your credit and the talk. So you hit on this earlier and it just popped back in my, I want to hit on this real quick. So, you talked about like playing the game, right? And, in the house, if whether you sitting at the spades table or the Uno table or the dominoes table, what's the first question that gets asked? House rules, right?
House rules. Uno especially, like,
house rules.
How many cards can we draw? Can we, you know what I'm saying? Can you put a drop on top of drop 4? Draw 2 on drop? Like, what are the rules?
So in every household, that when somebody comes sit down at the table, they gonna ask, what are the rules before they play? No one's asking the rules when it comes to personal finance. No one's like saying, hey, I want to use this credit card. What are the rules?
What are the rules?
What are the rules?
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
That's huge.
Like, you sit down at the table, you don't want to take an L with this because it's gonna make you look bad, right? But like,
we're playing Joker Deuce when we play, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
and that's big, right? It's like, you sitting down at the end of the day, think of it, it's the game, right? We don't own this. We got to get in where we fit in. Well, the best way to stay in is to figure out how it operates, right? Like, it's very difficult.
That's tweetable. I don't even have a Twitter, but you know what I'm saying? But like, that's tweetable. That's a post worthy right there. That's post worthy. Like, yeah, bro. Dang, that's heavy. You're right, bro. The first thing you sit down, you know what I mean, is Uno, spade. What are the rules? How we playing? Hold on. How we playing? What's the rules? But we don't do that with finances. We don't do that with, man.
That's a bar. That's a bar.
Hey, if you had a bomb, you should drop the bomb.
Hey, hey, nah, man. But it's real though, like, and it's crazy that a game that really holds nothing more than your social status. Maybe somebody talk junk to you for a week, you're gonna know every detail before you get started. But the thing that if you do it wrong can set you back years. No one's asking the question, What are the rules?
What are the rules? You gotta post that one, bro. What are the rules? What are the rules? What we playing? We playing Joker, Joker, Deuce, Deuce. What's the Uno? What we playing? How many cards can you draw? What are the rules?
I might
That's
have
the
to get that
same
one
thing. You
today.
gotta. Yes. What's the same application to that in credit and finances and financial literacy and wealth creation and free financial freedom?
Right.
Sheesh.
Budgeting,
What are
like
the rules?
all of these
Everything.
things going into it. A loan, like car buying, like everything. What are the rules? Like, everyone sits around, matter of fact, that might be the name of this episode. What are the rules?
That's what are the rules.
And
That's the name of the episode, bro.
because I want people to understand, it's like, yo, the information is there, and it kills me.
Right.
I've seen people see something about a new shoe being out, and they'll Google the release date and all the information on it, but they don't
Everything.
take the time to be like, hey, how is a FICO score actually set up? Okay, 35% payment history. So that means I should probably be paying all my bills on time. All right, so the 30% is credit utilization. Oh, so that means the more money I use, the higher my utilization, the lower my score. Oh, so maybe I should, through paying the bills, I keep my credit utilization low. Oh, so to keep my credit utilization low, I just spend what I'm normally going to spend that I budgeted it for. And instead of paying it out of my checking account, now I just paid a credit card. Like it's so many things, but it's like, yo, all you got to do is sit down and say, what are the rules? Anybody listen to that? If you don't know the rules, I want you to sit down, ask for the playbook, and whether you asking me or you asking Google, the playbook is there. The rule book is there. All you got to do is just ask what the rules are, and you can start learning.
What are the rules? Wow, that's heavy. That's heavy. I think that has kind of like summed up a lot of what we talked about, bro.
I
Like,
think so.
what are the rules? Like you that's crazy. No, that's real. And I feel like once we start asking that question, you know what I mean? Because we're not dumb. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, we're not dumb. Like, if we know the rules, and the next thing is not crazy difficult. It's not crazy
It's not.
complicated.
And that's the thing, is we've brainwashed ourselves as a community to feel like these things are difficult, or that, oh, they're written on behalf of other people. No, they're written how they're written. The issue is the people who you're talking about they're written for took the time to understand the rules.
Understand them.
And they're playing the game as it's meant to be played. Like we shoot ourselves in the foot, but we're also, we've trained generations of people to think that credit was bad. We got people sitting here, and I tell people they should have a budget, and they act like I just spoke badly about someone in their family. It's like, bro, I'm not telling you to have a budget because it's a bad thing, bro. I have a budget. Like, other people, like, it's not but it's like, why would I have a budget? Like, what do you mean? I'm good with my money. I don't need a budget. And it's like, that's kind of doesn't match up, because if you were good with your money, you would absolutely have a budget, because you want to know where every dollar is going so that you can, allocate it appropriately to where it needs to be. So
exactly, bro.
I'd be hard pressed to find someone to tell me that they're managing their money very well and they don't use a budget, but how do we know that until we have these conversations? You know what I'm saying?
Bro, man, that's heavy, bro. And to get to your point on like just reiterating like what are the rules and understanding it, like a lot of people kind of like bash Trump, right? So I'm gonna get into it. So a lot of people kind of bash Trump. So for me, I'm like, okay, cool. He has a lot of antics. I feel like, he can go off on the left end, right? But at the same time, they're like, okay, he doesn't pay taxes. I'm like, okay. Like, did he go to jail for that? So he must know something that I don't know. Bro. You know what I mean? Like he like, yes, I get it. In the ethical, the moral code of a human being, I don't think Trump's views all the time aligns with that, right?
No, absolutely not.
But you know what I'm saying, comma, how is he doing it? What is he doing? What are the rules? How is he playing? How is he able to do this? He's the president. Everybody's looking at him. And instead of me throwing down my hat and smacking my hat and says, oh my gosh, they got away again, it's not meant for us to win. I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe I should look into his playbook and look and see what he does. You know what I'm saying? Look at who's around him. I'm like, oh snap, him and Robert Kiyosaki are friends. Cool, let me get Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know what I mean? And read that and figure out like, okay, well, tax depreciation. Okay, real estate, you can take
asking
the capital, you know what I mean?
asking the right questions. Because you know what's
Bro.
funny is I did the exact same thing. When I did the exact same thing. Everybody was like, oh, he only paid $700 something in taxes. This is outrageous. Granted, I agree with you. More ethically, like there's a lot of issues.
Right.
However, I said, yo, he knows something I don't. I need to figure it out. I care less
I
about
need to figure it
emotions,
out.
feelings. I want to know what he did so that I have that in my playbook. You know what I'm
You know what I'm
saying? Like,
saying?
but it's just asking the right questions. Like, yo, everyone else is outraged, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, this is talking about taxes, so I know 99% of people don't understand taxes.
Right.
Clearly, he does. Cool. I'm up,
You know what I'm
and just
saying?
and it might not be anything that I action within even the next 10 years, but I always know
Right.
I have that to go back to look on now because there may be
Right.
a moment where I can use it, or I can pass it to someone else. Hey man, look, and you never know. Like it might be somebody who does very well, but they have something coming
Right.
up for their family and they really need that. Okay, cool. Like, hey, read this article. Oh, hey man, I
Right.
found that. I was able to reach out to these people. It helped me out a lot. Now my kids can go to college. You never know what the
For
reasoning is going to
sure.
be for it. And that's
For
not for us to
sure.
determine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I
Yeah,
think
no, for
that's
sure.
a huge part too, is like when we're not taking care of what we're supposed to take care of, it's easy to be like, oh, that person's bad, oh, this and that. And like you want to be upset with
Right.
everyone else. Like, yo, stop worrying about what's going on around you. You should. The last thing, I kid you not, bro, I never have a conversation today where I'm sitting here gossiping about somebody. Not my thing. And anybody calling my phone, don't call me gossiping about anybody. That's not my thing. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
not my
Like
thing, bro. Can't
that's
support.
but people will spend more time worried about what other people were doing instead of honing in on, hey, what am I doing, what can I be doing better? And it's like, if you take that time and energy that you call, hey, I heard such and such happened this weekend and tell me what's going on, and you were like,
Yeah.
spend that time maybe reading a book,
Right.
your growth is going to be so much more,
Go crazy.
it's going to be crazy because like you're taking that negative stuff away because that negativity feeds in your mind and it takes up so much
Facts.
space to where
Facts.
it's very hard for positivity to get in, and you might overlook it or see the positivity is wrong. But
Right.
I I'm telling you right now, but it made me feel good to have this conversation and see like see where you are right now, especially mentally, man, because it's hard, for all of us, especially doing the things we do, where we come from. So you know being the older of the two,
Right.
I'm just happy, like I'm like, oh, catching on even earlier. That means like, yo, you got more
Right.
time to win, more time to eat, and that's what it's all about. Like that means you have more years to affect people positively, and that's what it's all about. Like I tell people all the time, when I meet anyone, the first thing I tell you is, yo, my goal, if we're gonna this friendship, wherever you gonna hang around, my goal is to add value to you. You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure.
That's
Gotta
always
add
my
value.
first goal, because no people, I've yet to meet someone I added value to that isn't still here to this day. And because of
Right.
that, they try their hardest to add value back. And because of that, it's just a value building relationship that continues to prosper,
Right.
and we grow together because we're not worried about what everybody else is doing. I'm not worried about tearing you down. Like, I'm going to hold you accountable just like I expect you to hold me accountable. And like now you just got iron sharpening iron all over the place.
Right.
And
Right.
you got a bunch of people who are basically, you soon you be surrounded by a bunch of generals.
Right. Exactly. 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 Yeah, bro. No, adding value is huge, man. And I appreciate that, man. Like the thing about it though is like we like, you know what I'm saying? Like 18. So our my homies, you know what I
Y'all
mean?
know
So
I
like
love 18.
you know what I'm saying? We love y'all. So it's like we watching y'all. We might not say, hey, we're watching Trust and Eric today, but you know what I mean? Like we're around y'all, we see what y'all doing, you know what I mean? So it's like we ain't stupid, we ain't dumb. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this the play. So you know what I mean? You know, y'all ran so we could take it the next, you know what I'm saying, take the next step. You know what I mean? So like all of that is getting back to circle, bro. And that's another reason why I'm so happy to be not just the bros, but even in the chapter that I'm in. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Mhm.
bro, our list is crazy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
the list is crazy.
Yeah.
So talking about you talked about circle earlier, like when you're in that room and you're in that environment, bro, I remember like one of the first conversations I had, and I wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying, the bruh yet, but they were just talking about like, you should try to get a crib in every duty station.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
That
I'm
sounds
like,
like a
dang.
Amir Sharif.
You know what I'm saying? It was, it was. You feel me? So it's like, I'm like, oh shit, hold on. Like, I'm not even thinking about like a crib. So not only did you say get one, you said get one at every duty station. So you're changing my mentality of what is even possible. You know what I mean? And so when you put that, that's the starting point. You know what I mean? Now we on podcast talking finances, talking bread, and we making plays. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
like each one teach one. You know what I mean? And I don't even know where I got off tangent. I don't even know where I was supposed to be going with that. But yeah, bro. It's good, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate y'all too for doing what y'all doing and spreading the knowledge and never being, you know what I'm saying, the big homie that was like trying to hold knowledge or like hold back or like,
Yeah.
you know, feeling some type of way because of the young people or like being one of them, you know, the big homies like, oh, back in my day, like what, you know what I mean? Or always
Mm-hmm.
criticizing the young people or like stuff like that. So that's been huge as well.
Nah, man, I appreciate that because for us, one of the biggest things is like, constantly emphasizing to, all of y'all, as well as like the other people that we, influence is like, yo, it's okay to think bigger. The only way to, you know, improve and get, make progress in life is to be able to think bigger. The issue is a lot of people are stuck in situations and with groups of people who make them feel bad for thinking bigger and making them think bigger is
Right.
impossible. Where now, y'all around people like us is like, no, what do you, that's your goal? Cool. Then what we need to do to figure it out? Like we can make this happen.
Bro, that's the thing. Like, trust to tell you, bro. I'll call him. I'm like, yo, like, I'm thinking about blah, 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 blah. He was like, okay, what you need to do? This is what we need to do to make it happen. I've never called him and he's never been like, maybe you need to settle down. That's too big. Like, every time we talk, you know what I mean? It's always, okay, this is how you do it. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, what's the steps? Blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Do your research. Like, and that's what both of y'all, you know what I mean? Like from my podcast that we had, from this one, from when we was
Mm-hmm.
hanging out, you know what I mean? Like it's always been positive, always been growth, and always been like, okay, bet what you vision in your mind, it can happen.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. You create the world around you through your mind.
Right. No, for
So
sure, bro. So
this is, but it's been a good talk today, man. I'm really glad
bro,
you got
this
on
is
the show
good.
today. So, before we close it out, I know you're doing a lot of stuff business wise over there on the West
Yeah.
Coast. So please, take this time and tell everyone about what you got going on, how they can get in contact if you want to, what you do. And then also I'm going to put all your information in the description of the show today too, so that they can find you and reach out to participate.
For sure, man. Again, bro, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come on the podcast and talk. So what I have going on right now, a lot of different things. So number one, I'm wearing a shirt right now, Lineage Investment Group. If y'all can see it, basically it's a real estate firm, and what we do is we're taking down multifamily properties, right? So multifamily properties, once you get to 5 units and up, it's no longer residential, right? And so you're doing commercial. So that's what I'm trying to do. And we're not trying to do, that's what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, once I'm trying to do it to where it's like 50 units plus. So those are more so apartments, you know what I mean? And, a strategy to do that through syndication. So all a
Mm-hmm.
syndication is doing is taking other people's money, other investors' money to buy the property. And we own it and we manage it and we just pay them out. So long story short, I have an investment firm focused on real estate. I also have a podcast called Group Chat, and I have some other things in the works, but those are the things I really want to focus on right now. It's just the podcast and my real estate firm, and you can check those out. I'm actually going to start a podcast and start doing webinars, just based on real estate. You know what I mean? All multifamily stuff. Focus on that, how to invest your money with the current economy and where things are headed right now, how to take advantage of that. So you can go on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or whatever. It's literally just called Lineage Investment Group. So the tree is an I, so just LINEAGE. Again, it's LINEAGE, Lineage Investment Group, on all platforms. You can follow me on Instagram at King Haas _5. That's KINGHAS _5. And man, let's grow together. Let's build together. I'm here to give back whatever I learned. I'm not where I want to be yet, and I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? So let's just go together and build together.
Let's do it. So can anyone hit you to like become a like participate in the investment group?
Oh, for sure, man. So that's what I want to do. I want to build a community. I want to have like an ecosystem, so to speak. You know what I mean? Where people can come, they definitely can invest with us. I'm going on how to invest with us, how to become an accredited investor. What the heck is an accredited investor? You know what I mean?
Mm,
Asking the right questions. We said, what are the rules, right? So like, I'm sure you played Monopoly before. If you haven't, it's basically learning how to build wealth through real estate, really. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So what are the rules? Uno, spades. Now let's play life. Now let's play financial literacy. What are the rules? So we're gonna teach you, basic definitions of real estate terms, multifamily things, and the proper way that even if you don't invest with us, if you want to do something else to set you up for success, you know what I mean with that. So yes, you can email us as well at contact. So contact at Lineage. So just contact at Lineage Investment Group. Um, and yeah, send us an email. We'll chop it up. I can get you on a Zoom call, and we can go from there.
Cool, man. That's awesome, bro. I'm proud of you. If anybody else told you, bro, I'm proud of you. That's big stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Appreciate it.
putting together and really, putting the first foot forward and leading from the front. So, that's what we do out here. We lead from the front. So I'm glad to
Right,
see
right.
you continuing that lineage. And there you go.
Appreciate it.
Lineage is in the name
Yeah.
for a reason. So,
Right. Yeah.
so hey, that's good stuff. So that's for all listeners. This is all we have for today. So I just want to thank you for listening, and be sure to check out the notes and find out how you can get in contact with me, or also get in contact with Hasan, and then we're gonna go from there. So I appreciate everyone for listening. Let's get in the smoker.